everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Nurburgring Championship for race 8 from the Monza Grand Prix circuit. And we're in for a potentially nail-biting penultimate round to the championship. Let's quick look at and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Race 9, the season finale of the Nurburgring Championship from the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. The title fight is still on. Also, there's a lot of fights in the standings still going on, so let's have a quick look at that. SGP and Steve F1, they're still battling it out for the title. SGP only needs to finish 8th or higher and it is over for Steve F1, unfortunately. Demon R in 3rd, I think he'll be staying there. Mitch in 4th. SRI is under pressure from Conrad in 6th, who unfortunately isn't racing today, so no pressure there. But then we've got Jason, Fluffy, David Harp all tied in for 7th place, and they're putting the pressure on SRI. Twilight sits in 10th place. There's a very small gap to Gary in 11th, and then we've got a battle for 12th. Jimmy, Art Pal, Bunsell, Rich Blues all battling it out there, and Hay in 16th. Qualifying, another fantastic qualifying session, and then once again look at the gaps. Steve F1 takes pole position with a 153.772, and SGP was only pipped by 0.003 of a second. You couldn't really get much closer, except you could get 0.02 closer, and then it'd be 0.01001. Anyway, Jason 3rd, Demon R 4th, Mitch in 5th, Fluffy Planet 6th, SRI he'll start 7th, just ahead of David Harp in 8th. Art Powell lines up alongside Twilight, and formerly Gary line up alongside Hay. Bunsell starts 13th, Rich Blues 14th, and unfortunately a couple of drivers away today. But that is not going to detract from those fights that are going to be going on out there on the track. There's only one way to find out who's going to be champion and who's going to finish where in the standings, and that is to hand over to the commentators And that commentator is absolutely unique, except for the other commentator, who's actually identical. And joining me on commentary for the final race of the championship, it's the reigning champion, Mitch. How are you, Mitch?
Doing all right, thank you, Dave. How about yourself?
A bit better. I've always been better when there's two Steves on the front row of the grid, but it's interesting that we've got the championship contenders lining up alongside each other for the final race of the season as the lights go out and away they go. And it's a lot of wheel spin for SGP there. Steve F1 in his Murray Walker tributed livery as holding on to the lead just about. No, he's not. SGP takes the lead. Jason, Twilight, hello, goodbye.
Oh, there goes Twilight, but yeah, not a bad start at all for SGP there from starting second on the grid. Steve F1 is now on the attack from Jason, who's had a pretty good start. Mitch just behind there as well, going around the outside. Lost a bit of traction there as now Demon R comes into play.
Yeah, Demon R making the move there as Mitch got a little bit twitchy. SRI is also having a little bit of a look. We don't want to let any Scotsman move any further forward if we can help it though. Fluffy also having a look. But yes, SGP got a brilliant start even though he got the wheel spin. The second phase of the start was fantastic. Steve F1 though, I mean regarding the championship, Steve F1 needs to basically win the race and SGP I think needs to finish lower than 8th. That's the situation in the championship. So Steve F1 is going to need to do something about SGP. Hopefully do it fairly though. The problem
it is a must win for Steve F1 here. SGP needs to make a mistake if Steve wants to win the championship. But SGP's pretty much got one hand on the trophy already. But let's see what happens.
What I heard he's been dipping his bits in the trophy so nobody else will want to touch it. The problem for both of these guys though is that Jason has been showing to be ridiculously quick in practice. Steve F1's got a decent run though, down the back straight. Is SGP going to go defensive? No, he's not. He's kind of saying, okay, if you want to risk it, go for it. Because I mean, SGP's in a very interesting situation where he doesn't need to risk anything. He can sit there in second place.
Exactly. He can just let Steve F1 go and win the race. All he needs to do is just stay above 8th position and he's got the championship.
Yeah, the problem, I mean, he could end up with the Senna effect though, where if you sort of take your eye off the ball a little bit, Jason having a look, SGP does not want to drop the second place. Jason though, he's thinking, now I'll just go around the outside of you. Okay, SGP doesn't want any of that, does he? Oh, Demon trying to sneak up the inside now of turn 2 of Jason. Oh, Jason got caught out a little bit there, so into 3 they go, and here comes Mitch. Mitch may be able to capitalise as well. No, Jason covering that off and tags the back of Demon R. And is Mitch going to go for a switchback? He is. He'll have a run here. He'll have a run on Jason if he... Oh, but Jason's trying to make the move on Demon R. So Mitch is going to have nowhere to go.
He's going to have to keep it for a second here, but Jason was caught napping and Demon R took the position from him, but he's putting the fight back on him now.
That he is. I mean, like I said, Jason's been quick in practice, but that was when he was at the front and was able to pull away. He's going to have to make some moves now if he wants to try and win this race. He's having a look into the hairpin, can't quite get it done. So as they made their way up towards the Schumacher S's, and I bet, oh Mitch, oh so close. That sounds like I was just shouting at you then. Oh Mitch.
Yeah. I tell you what, Mitch was very lucky to keep the car. Oh, that's all right.
You know what, he was looking to keep the car facing the right direction. I mean, he's off the track by a mile and he's pretty much dropped to the back of the pack, but Fluffy got a little bit out of shape as well. Demon R's pulled away a little bit from Jason, and here comes Mitch. Mitch got a decent run. Fluffy, bit of a gap back to him, but that's because SRI decided to vacate that gap. Jason's got a run. Demon R's going to go defensive, is he? Yes, he is. Let's see what Jason can do under brake. Oh my goodness, Mitch right on the outside. Right. What a move. Mitch,
and here comes Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch coming through as well. Mitch sporting tributes to Sabine Schmidt, the Queen of the Ring. And that sounds a bit wrong, that does, but she is. She was, sorry. Yeah,
she definitely was.
Yeah, that she was. I mean, I only found out today that she basically drove a car that was called the Ring Taxi, and she'd take people around the track. So yeah, tribute to Sabine Schmidt and to the late great Murray Walker on Mitch's car. As I mentioned earlier on, a few drivers will be sporting those tributes, I am sure. Jason, though, coming under pressure. Mitch may be able to make a move here, but through these tricky little S's, it's a bit difficult, isn't it, Mitch?
Oh, it's very difficult. It's really hard to get some overtaking done over here.
That it is. Now, we've not had much of a look at the pack at the moment, because of what is happening at this battle for third place. And interestingly, this battle is allowing the two Steves, Steve F1 and SGP, to open up a bit of a gap as Jason now goes defensive. I thought Mitch was going to get that move done. Switch back.
That was ambitious from Mitch there.
It was, but sometimes you have to poke your nose where it don't belong. Or Jason got twitchy through the Schumacher S's, and it's interesting, I was going to mention it earlier actually, Schumacher did help design those S's, which is why they're called the Schumacher S's. And for anyone that doesn't believe me, there is an absolutely enormous sign on the side of the road that says Schumacher. Are you thinking, is there?
I'm just thinking, yeah.
There is a massive red sign that's about 45 foot wide. Like literally, you can't miss it, but I guarantee everybody has missed it. But it's one of those things, once you've seen it, oh yeah, bloody hell, and then you don't miss it again. So.
Yeah. Well, back on board with Jason here, Mitch. Trying to find a way to get down into turn one. It's a difficult corner, turn one, especially on the braking. You can easily get it wrong.
You definitely can. I mean, it's one of those things. Jason's going defensive, and I don't blame him. Mitch giving him a bit of a tap. Demon R maybe sneaking up the inside of Mitch here. He did it to Jason earlier. But no,
Mitch having a look around the outside.
Oh, it'd be a nice move if you can hold on to it. But I think Jason's going to have the inside for 3. Yeah. He is. But Mitch will have the inside for 4 if he just. Oh, I thought he was going to just prod that throttle and get up in there.
Not a lot of grip around that corner there, but Jason's done well there to hold the position.
Oh, Fluffy's got in on this as well. Demon R's just had to go a bit defensive on Fluffy. That's a short, sharp way of saying, back off, mate. You don't belong here.
Tell you what, Fluffy shows some really good pace. Staying with Jason, Mitch, and also Demon R.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He got a little close there. I bet his seatbelts were a little looser for a moment then as he breathed in. But interestingly, Dave the Harp is now closing in on Fluffy as well. So the little battle through the first sector for Jason and Mitch has just closed their pack in a little bit. But Fluffy has been, he's been improving a lot over the last 4 or 5 races. He had a bit of a shocker in the opening 2 or 3 races. But yeah, he's definitely fought back. SRI trying to fight back. There's a Hay around the outside of Twilight. We saw Twilight make that error at the start. To be fair, Twilight definitely got it all out of shape, but I think he kind of did the right thing. He took evasive. Now, if he knew that evasive was going to reset him, I don't know, but at least he didn't take anybody else out.
Exactly, that's the best thing to do for Twilight. Even though he's right at the back with the boost on, he can easily catch everyone up.
Yeah, definitely. Gary and Artpal going side by side down the main straight here. That'll give those behind them the opportunity. Jason's just opened up a little bit of a gap to Mitch. Demon R having a look up the inside, but not going for it. I think, looking at the lap times here, Mitch, I'm thinking, oh, Rich! Artpal! Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Dave the Harp's just got took around. I don't know if it was... who was first contact on that, because we only sort of saw it in the foreground. But I was going to mention about the lap times. The leaders are in the 53s. Jason's just dipped into the 54s, and Mitch and Demon are in the 55. So I'm wondering whether they've just sort of calmed that battle down a little bit to try and pick up the pace. Or Hay and Gary bumping uglies.
Ooh, that was close between Gary. I thought he was going to spin it then. But yeah, I think Demon R and Mitch needs to think about putting some really good laps in to catch up to Jason, and then also to both of the Steves.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, the Steves are fighting out for the championship. There's still plenty to fight for here. SRI having a look up the inside of Gary. Can he get it done? He's just about ahead. Yeah, lovely move there. Twilight trying to capitalise as well as Bunsell closes in on the back of him. So SRI trying to recover. This is the corner he went off earlier. That is the Schumacher S's, and at some point I'm sure the camera will show us the big red sign. I know, Mitch, you're sat there thinking, I know this is part of a pun. Really, it isn't. It's a genuine fact. It is there.
I am waiting for that point.
I wouldn't worry about it. Hay has got Gary all up his rear end. Bunsell coming in as well. SRI trying to survive up the inside. The mad police Scotsman up the inside. We saw Jason make a lovely overtake here. Can these guys get through? Yes, they can, side by side. And SRI survives once again. A lovely bit of driving from a lot of them there. I mean, it's surprising from a Scotsman, really, because I heard a story about rescuers that failed to save a Scotsman after he fell into a giant whiskey barrel. The rescuers said, we battled all night to save him, but he fought us all off.
Oh, bloody hell.
4 wide into turn 1. Here we go. Gary up the inside. It's a tight, tricky line. SRI manages to survive it. He must be in a whiskey barrel.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they all did really well there. I was expecting a collision then, like on the last lap, but there was some really good driving here in the back. I'm on board with Gary.
Yeah, the cameramen like to change cameras every now and again through that particular corner. We saw it a lot in the Ford. We might see a bit here today as well. So Arpal trying to break away. Oh, Gary, sorry, gone a little bit wide. That's allowed Dave to gain one place. Hay trying to cover him off now. Dave going for a switchback. Got to be careful though, because Gary's still there, and so is Bunsell. And this is where a little bit of calmness would definitely prevail as Hay having a look up the inside of Twilight. Twilight letting that one go just about.
Just about, yeah, but Dave's on the recovery drive at the moment after that collision. But let's see if he can get through the pack again.
Yeah, I mean, he had the pace to be ahead of the pack and sort of be under threat but not be in danger. But unfortunately, yeah, if there's going to be collisions up at the head of the pack, then that lead pack driver is going to be in danger. Arpal now under pressure from SRI. SRI trying a few switchback tactics to get Arpal out of position. Oh, Arpal goes defensive, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything about SRI if he goes for it up the inside, which he is doing. SRI, but actually he's backed out of it. I expected.
That's quite surprising.
Oh, interesting. Maybe he didn't back out of it. Maybe Arpal just braked a little bit late, which is why SRI was able to make the move. Okay, let's see. Mitch and Demonar have pulled away from Fluffy by quite a bit, and their lap times have improved. 54s on the last 2 laps. Demonar making a move up the inside of Mitch now. Let's see. Oh, going very wide as well, just to bring that cone into play a bit more. Mitch may be able to go for a bit of a switch back, but I suppose it's an interesting situation here where Jason has just started opening the gap up a little bit, and if Mitch is feeling like, I don't know whether it's tyres or limited practice, maybe following Demonar to try and catch up to Jason might be a good thing.
I think it's a bit of both, really. Like, Mitch has not really had a lot of practice around here at all, but also the tyre wear can be really bad around here, so I expect him to be struggling a little bit.
Potentially. Oh, Arpal's managed to get back ahead of SRI, so I don't know whether SRI made a mistake down into turn 1, but yeah, Arpal's got back past him, which makes things interesting as they make their way down towards the hairpin. The 2 Steves are going through the Schumacher S's now. SRI, is he going to have a look up the inside? Not really, he's kind of covering off Dave the Harp, I reckon. Right, let's have a look for that big red sign, shall we? It's up there. Oh, you bugger. It is there. It is there, honest. I know it's there anyway.
Yeah.
So what we've got now, Twilight getting in on this as well. Dave the Harp side by side. SRI, does he really want to make the move here? They're about to head onto the back straight. Maybe he thinks he can open up a bit of a gap.
I would say that, yeah. I thought then it probably wasn't a smart move for that, for SRI to overtake him, but let's see what happens. Will Arpal get the position back?
I mean, it depends on how brave SRI is on the brakes into this chicane. Arpal's going to try and go around the outside. Oh, lovely move, lovely bit of driving between the 2 of them. I mean, we saw Arpal lose the position there in the previous lap, but side by side they go. SRI's going to switch back, but Dave's there!
Oh, Dave!
Ooh! That was so close. I mean, he was absolutely fine sticking his nose up there. What it meant is that Ray has been left hung out to dry, no slipstream, and Dave Harp, careful with the grass.
Ooh, into turn one we go. He's got Arpal. There's a great bit of driving there from Dave.
Yeah, I mean, from Dave, Arpal and SRI. Gary trying to sneak through now as well, through 2.
Let's see what happens here then. Too wide.
There.
Yeah, a little bit there. a little bit there. And I thought then Twilight was going to go into the back of Rich then.
He loves it. He loves it. Does actually? I don't think Rich does love it. Oh, Arpow a little bit wide. It's so easy to do that. Carry a touch too much speed. SRI's carried a touch too much speed as well. That's compromised him on the run down to the hairpin. Rich now trying to make a move on Gary, but Gary's got the inside. Arpow nearly tagged the back of SRI there. Oh, and Hay runs a little bit deep. Look for the red sign. Look for the red sign. It's just on the left, you bastards, cameraman. It is one of these shots. It just flashed by. There was a bit of a red. Yeah, there we go. It will give us a decent shot of it. Never. So what have we got up at the front as we are now 8 laps into this race? Just to let you know, Steve F1 still leading. He's going into the final corner. He's got about a 3-second gap over SGP, I think.
Quite a decent gap, yeah, over SGP, but I presume SGP's playing a safe game this race just so we can get the championship.
Ooh, this could get tricky. Arpow's in a difficult situation there. Gary up the inside. That's going to put Rich through, and he gets to come through the chicane much quicker, but now he's in danger. Rich! No. Is he in the pits?
He was lucky. He was lucky.
That he was. I mean, it was a big crash, but yeah, he was lucky because if he... Arpow's waiting.
Arpow's waiting.
Yeah, that would suggest
I did think he was going to go into the pits backwards then, Rich, but he's done a bit of luck on his side there. What we've got here, we've got David Hart, Bunsell and Gary. Bunsell and Gary going side by side here into... I think this is turn 3 if I'm correct.
Yeah. Bunsell's not used to being side by side. He's more nose to tail kind of person. At least that's what this is said. I'll get in trouble for that one. But yeah, I mean, we saw Arpow waiting on the main straight as well, which would suggest that he perhaps didn't know that Rich was next to him. And yeah, so the contact that happened there, perhaps he feels it's his fault, so he has waited for Rich. I mean, it's unlucky for Rich. We've seen people have accidents there and sort of almost end up in the pit lane. Okay, the leader, Steve F1, got a gap now, as we mentioned, on SGP. Look at the lap times though, 153s. I mean, that is a quick pace to be running up at the front. For SGP though, what's he got? I mean, SGP's in he's in a win-win situation. As long as you don't bin it, it's fine. Steve F1's got a big gap, but it doesn't matter because you don't get more points for being further ahead. So here is SGP. He's been in the 53s, but he's mainly 54s. Jason, look at that.
Jason's really catching.
He is 53s on the board for Jason. Demon R and Mitch not really catching Jason, so Jason definitely could get involved in the front few. Fluffy's been all on his own again. SRI having a look at the inside of Dave the Harper. Dave's having none of it, so Dave has managed to get himself back to the head of the pack, but is that really where he's going to want to be?
Probably not for this part, no, because Ray's now got the slipstream, so he's probably going to go side by side and into turn 1. Potentially trying to go for the overtake, and look at that, he's covering the inside, he's going to go around the outside, right?
Yeah, well, Ray's got 2 options here, hasn't he? Try and go all the way around the outside, or go for the switchback, which is what he's trying to do. He'll get the better exit, but here comes Gary. Gary may have a look up the inside. No, he's playing a little bit more of a cautious game. May be able to have a look up the inside here, though. Oh no, Hayes just come past him. David Hart still managed to stay ahead of SRI, but yeah, Hayes sneakily past Gary, and Gary now well out wide, where you mentioned it's not very grippy out there.
Exactly, yeah, and Bunsell's running a little bit wide there, but we are side by side between Gary and Hay, but Hay's got to maintain the position.
Yeah, we've seen Hay in recent races as well, sort of giving positions back after he's made them, sort of trying to be a bit cautious. I think in this race we may see a different approach from him, which would be really good to see. It's one of those things he may have felt, he's just been punted by Gary. Well, not punter's the wrong word, shunted would be a slightly fairer one. Punted sounds like it's been done on purpose, and it wasn't. A little bit of contact between the two of them again. Hay again, Gary scraping maybe the... Oh no, I don't know if that was contact or not, but dear, oh dear. I think
that's unfortunate there for Hay and Twilight. Hay getting it all completely wrong, and Twilight, no.
He's still suffering, isn't he, Twilight?
Yeah.
It's one of those things, you come around a corner at full speed, hit the back of a car, and yeah, that's going to put a bit of a heat cycle through your tyres. It did look like there was a little bit of contact between Gary and Hay, sort of front on rear Fluffy into the pit wall. What are you doing? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. After we picked him up earlier, is he going to get caught now by the pack? You lucky boy.
Lucky. I was going to say, he's lucky that he's got a bit of a gap to the pack there, because if he didn't have that gap, he would have been chewed up and probably right at the back of it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hearing some stuff on the radio as well. I can hear Fluffy. He's saying he had to go to a Whitesnake concert alone after his friends pulled out. He keeps singing, "Here I go again on my own."
Bloody hell. Right, so that's 2 in about 20 minutes.
Yeah. Don't worry, there's more. Okay,
half
so
the race left and half the race to go.
Yeah,
let's see what happens.
That there is. And you know what? I was meant to do a certain bit of commentary earlier on, and I forgot. Bugger. What I was meant to do when Steve F1 took the lead of the race was I was meant to go. Yes, that's it. He's saying I'm going for first.
I could just picture that in my head.
Oh, Rich, where are you going? Flashing his pink bits all over the place there. So, David Harper and SRI, these two are in a very interesting situation. Twilight's been tagged by Rich, I think. I think if SRI and David Harper were to work together, they could pull away from the pack.
Definitely, they've definitely both got the pace to do so, but they're going side by side into the slow chicane, so it's going to bring the pack back into it. And as well behind that with Hay and I think that's Harper.
I mean, it's lovely driving this. It's a great battle, but clearly we show here that it's allowed Hay to really close in and actually steal a place off SRI. Whereas if they'd have just bumped after each other, they may have been able to get ahead and then do it again down into one. Dave going very defensive with Hay behind him. Got to be careful moving across the track because there's other cars next to you now as they're 3 wide. Hay's going deep, is he?
He's going to go deep. He's going to lose a few positions there.
That he is. His brakes were glowing bright red. He's managed to hold on just about. Arpal tried to sneak through. SRI just got massively out of shape towards 3. Hay taking a bit too much curb there, but I'm guessing he's trying to give a bit of space to cars that are next to him. It's one of those where you don't want to see cars off the track, but it's kind of like if they're trying to do the right thing, it's a bit harsh to try and punish them for it, let's put it that way. Tags the back of Arpal. That may have been Arpal being a little bit more on the brakes than Hay, but so be it. Gary now getting in on this. This could get interesting at the hairpin. Yeah,
it looks like it's going side by side between Hay and Arpal. But it looks like, here we are, side by side now, at the exit of the hairpin. Gary's looking into it as well. You don't want to go side by side here. Into the
red sign! Now, for anyone watching the video, go back 10 seconds, you'll see it said Michael Schumacher. Sorry, I wasn't watching what was happening on track then, I was looking for the red sign. So Hay and Gary still bumping doors by the looks of it. And, got to try giving each other a bit more room there, guys. You don't want to be bumping the doors too much. Like this. I mean, I think this may be a situation of, they're both sort of need to give each other a bit more space here because it could start bugging each of them. It's one of those situations, I think, Mitch, as well, where probably both drivers thinking, he's bumping me, and they're turning and preparing for the bump, and then actually both of them are going, well, he's bumping me and he's bumping me and he's bumping me, whereas what they really need to do is go, there's someone next to me, I'm just going to move away from him a bit.
Exactly. I thought I was going to go 4 wide then. Uphill. You know what, Dad was lucky. I thought he spun out then.
He was lucky, very lucky. I mean, to be fair, it looked like Arpal was all locked up, trying not to touch him. I don't know if Arpal got nudged from behind or not, but yeah. I mean, David and SRI battling on the previous lap did allow. Around Arpal
there
goes.
Arpal.
Yeah, I think Hayes waits.
See if he waits. There he is. Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate in a way, but at the same time, perhaps a bit frustrating for Artpal, because he's just done everything he can to try and not wipe out Dave at turn 1, and unfortunately he's been swamped and then spun a few corners later as SRI trying to make the move on Gary, getting a bit braver on the brakes as we're now 13 laps into this race. I must admit, I love the hairpin at this particular track, because it's one of those corners that if you get it right, it is such a fantastic corner.
Exactly, yeah. But sometimes as well, you could be braking really late and you could be going really wide. You might have to go down to first gear or something like that, or even going onto the gravel section.
Yeah, definitely. Gary got a little bit wide through the second S's there. That's allowed SRI to really close in. Rich now closing in on the back. Actually, Rich is making a move on SRI here. 3 wide. Ooh. Yeah, hold your breath. Actually, that's pretty good. Go on, Rich. Do him.
Go on.
Nice. Is he going to be brave?
Ray's got it though.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rich was perhaps not brave enough on the throttle on the exit of the corner. The thing is that with that chicane, it's one of those corners as well where it bounces the car around so much, and if you're not used to it, it can be a very uncomfortable situation. David Harper's managed to have enough of a gap to be safe for the last couple of laps, but it looks like we're going on board for a lap with him. Mitch, would you like to take us for a tour around the Nurburgring?
Yeah, I'll have a go, yeah. So into turn 1, like I said earlier, it was quite hard to get right. Into turn 2, that's not a bad line at all there from down to half. Down to first gear, probably the best gear to go through. Make sure you're hitting your lines there. Into second, into the next corner. Better off having a wider line there to get a better exit. And after straight into sector 2, going into the quick left and right hander, which you gotta love. Into this, and then into the, let's say, this right hander, and then it's just a long straight.
It's not easy, this is it. It's not easy. Don't worry. SGP stitched you up with this one. What I will say is, it does look like Dave the Op is using a hell of a lot of steering angle here.
Yeah, it looks like
red sign. Look, Michael Schumacher. It says it there.
Yeah,
see?
Yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, it's so big you can't miss it, but everybody does. So yeah, heading on to the back straight now. It's not using a lot of steering. Well, it's interesting. I am seeing a lot of steering angle here and then still on there. So maybe that's part of the reason why Dave's struggling a little bit with the front end on this car. But I know that this car is inherently understeering around this particular track. Let's see how bumpy it is through the final chicane.
Breaking out 100 metres into the chicane. Oh, actually, definitely how bumpy it is.
It was nicely through there though,
but it was, really well done there from Dave. Yeah, using a lot of steering angle. You can definitely see in the final corner there.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see. I mean, who was we on board with last week? I can't remember. I really can't remember who we were on board with. But yeah, there was a lot less steering angle going on.
Oh, Bunsell.
Oh, yeah, Bunsell, big wide. SRI just tagged the side of Gary there, and I think he's waiting for him. Yes, he is. Maybe felt he'd hit him a little bit too much and being better to make the pass. Artpal now having a cheeky look up the inside. SRI's on the dirty bit, but he's got the inside line for the next right hand corner. Slots into the gap, but Artpal's going to go for the switchback, but can't quite get it done. Yeah, so it's an interesting situation, because looking at Dave steering there, for me, I'd look at it and go, it kind of looks like a driver who's feeling understeer, and instead of steering a bit less to bring the grip back, is steering more to try and get it to turn, and it's having the opposite effect. Artpal, ooh, risky. Has he put Gary into the gravel, or has Gary survived? He's survived.
He survived. Oh, yeah, that was really light from Artpal there. And here we go. So, I thought he was going to go side by side into Schumacher S's then, but no. SRI just didn't want to be involved then. But
it's getting interesting, this, isn't it? They're definitely battling it out here as they made their way onto the back straight. Has Dave got a gap? If he has, okay. Dave, if he just focuses on his racing line through the chicane, he could be safe down into 1, because if these guys battle, then he's going to be safe. But Arpals just broke away from the Gary and SRI, so now Dave could be under threat as SRI cheeky look up the inside of Gary into the last corner, but can't quite get it done yet. But here comes Bunsell. Is he going to bump draft? No, he's not. He's going for it.
Would have thought Bunsell would be bump drafting then. He looks a bit of a bump draft, but looks like he's going to bump draft Gary now.
Yeah, Dave the Harp's gone defensive. Arpal going for a switchback, but we've got to be careful of SRI, who's legitimately there, along with Gary. So Dave has survived again. So good defensive driving from Dave there. And to be fair, it's one of those where I'd kind of ignore the rest of the track and focus. If Dave needs to focus on the final right-hander before the back straight and the chicane, he needs those little bits of gaps in those corners to be able to survive into the chicane and into turn 1.
Exactly, yeah.
So you see here, he's managed to open up a little bit of a gap now on Arpal, and if Gary starts attacking Arpal, which he's being attacked by SRI, this will help Dave. Gary going for the move this time up the inside, can't quite get it done though.
Tell you what's nice watching the pack, watching all the pack. It's always chaotic, isn't it, in the pack?
Oh, yeah.
But you can definitely see the top 6, because I think Fluffy's pulled away a little bit, but it's just all spread out at the front.
That it is. They're all boring up there. Gary up the inside of Arpal, who's ran wide. SRI will get a move done here as well. Bunsell wide as well. Can SRI get the move done? No, he can't. He's going to have to sort of back out of it a little bit. Oh, Bunsell! Oh, nearly took Rich with him as he decided to check out whether that sign is there or not. But once again, Dave has just had that gap as they go 3 wide. This should help Dave. Are they going to get through? They are. I've got to say, I'm liking this. There's no problem going side by side through the chicane. It's part of racing. It's not quick, but yeah, as long as you do it like that, it's great to see. But look at the gap. Dave the Harper's got that bit of a gap. He'll be safe, should be anyway. Steve F1 leading the race.
Boring sods then.
Yeah.
The top. Here we are. Jason's really closing though.
Yeah, he has. I mean, Dimar's back in here, he's into the consistently 154s, Mitch is 154s as well, so they're showing a decent pace, just not as quick as Jason, unfortunately. Fluffy's so lucky after hitting the pit wall on his own. What a donut. Rich.
He's trying to find some more grip there.
Yeah, got more chance of finding a Rich energy drink than grip at that bit. So Dave the Harp didn't come under attack into turn 1, but through this first sector again it gets close. This is where he just needs to focus on where he's going. SRI, the problem I think for Dave though is that SRI, this championship, has really improved his driving.
Yeah, and definitely.
It's
been really quick.
He has.
Like in some of the, I think Spa he was really good around. Like he was staying with absolutely everyone around that track in the top 5. But he's been absolutely brilliant this season.
I mean, it's the consistency as well. I mean, okay, we've seen the odd mistake from him, but his consistency has improved massively, and that's kind of what has put Dave under a lot of pressure, really. The SRI is now sort of doing similar lap times as Dave the Harp, as he actually trying to make the move on Dave. And the thing is, for SRI, the more consistent he's been, the more confident he'll get in situations like this. So maybe not going for the move into the final chicane, but Dave, where are you going?
Where are you going, Dave?
Oh dear, oh dear.
I don't know if he had a lack of grip then in the final corner and just lost the rear end. I don't really know what happened then.
I'm wondering, maybe he did. Oh, you know what? If you went through the curb, through the chicane a little bit too hot and dipped a wheel over the curb or on the curb on the left, that can spin you to the right. As we're 3 wide, no, we're 2 wide, no, we're Arpal bumping SRI out of the way for Hay and Gary. Yeah, he's gone in there a little bit too hot, unfortunately for Arpal.
Yeah, Arpal, you probably don't want to do that again because SRI is going to come back at you and probably arrest you at some point.
Yeah, I'm just wondering though, is Arpal letting SRI back through here? I mean, to let him through, he's got to do it in a safe place.
I don't know, it doesn't look like it, but we don't know because he's just right behind Hay. It doesn't look like he's letting him back through.
yeah, maybe not aware of what he did on that one. I'm not sure. But yeah, interesting. I mean, we've seen Art Power obviously wait for people sort of wait for Rich earlier on, so maybe it's a case of not aware, or I thought he was going in there deep, but actually it was Hay that was deep. Oh, and that's all right, pulling him over. Oh, Bunsell comes in as well. I can't believe SRI just parked up next to him. He's like, all right, young man, what are you doing? Breathe into this tube, don't blow, suck. Oh my god. I didn't know that had happened like that. Oh god.
That made me laugh just then. Like, it just looks like he just pulled him over then. And then all of a sudden Bunsell just came in.
Oh dear. Oh, that's what we got here then. Rich on Art Pal. Is that David Harp? Yes, it is David Harp. Recovering. To be fair, SRI pulling over Hay. Oh, Dave's wide again. Will have helped to Dave a little bit because he gets to regain a few places. Art Powell going for a switchback on Rich. Dave, is he going to bump draft one of them? I think he's going to try and make the move.
Yeah, he's going to go 3 wide. That's probably not the best way to do it because now it's going to be a lot slower going into turn 1 between these 3. But
yeah, not only that,
he touched Gary. Oh no.
That's the risk. That's the risk, unfortunately. I mean, it's one of those that had Gary not been there, Dave would have been absolutely fine. But unfortunately, Gary was there, and I mean, nothing Gary could do about that one. I mean, he was way ahead. It's just the way the different lines converge there. But yeah, Dave. I don't know if he's driving. I was going to say I don't know if he's driving angry now, but it's one of those things where when a driver has made a couple of errors themselves, it can make a driver drive in a different way. I mean, it's like if you get hit about by other drivers, you might get angry about it, but it's a different angry to when you're making mistakes yourself.
Exactly, yeah. And talking about this, we've got side-by-side action there from Arpal, but he got the move on Rich then. I don't know if Rich was anticipating him getting with Arpal getting the move done there, but Arpal quite sneaky there, and he got the movement up into 7th place.
Yeah, that he has. Okay, we're already on lap 19 of 21. We've not seen the leaders for quite a while because, to be honest, they've been spread out doing bugger all other than, I say doing bugger all, they're doing fantastic lap times. Situation is still at the moment that Steve F1 is in the prime seat for winning the race. Hay here though, side by side with Rich. Oh, Rich just knocks him onto the grass a little bit. That'll compromise the two of them. Rich, is he giving the space? He is just about. I don't know if you knew that Hay was there. And it kind of looked like he didn't know. Oh, and squeezes him again. Ooh.
Yeah, I would have thought Rich would give him a little bit more room, but if he didn't know he was there, then fair enough. But he's coming back now, Hay. I don't know if he's side by side with Rich there, but
I wonder, was Rich letting him back through? No, he's still ahead of him.
Oh, 3 wide back into turn 1.
Rich was trying to cover that off. You've got to be careful if you're going to go defensive. You need to make sure that the car isn't there next to you. Also, you need to make sure that you don't pull in front of a car and then slam the brakes on. Or SRI and Rich.
That's a sneaky move from Rich there. After SRI took him in turn 1, he got the position back easily there.
Bunsel's getting involved in this as well, doing a bit of a switch back on Hay, but he's going to be hung out to dry. He's had to move across because of the grass, but that's tagged Hay. Going to have to be careful here now. Don't want to get too physical as Hay and Bunsel scratching wing mirrors. Maybe that's what it is. I've got an itch. Scratch it for me. Gary's in a bit of a tricky situation. David Harp in the background trying to close in once again. Or Rich up the inside. Can't quite get it done. Oh, but I think Hay's just tagged the back of Rich, and that's put Rich into SRI.
Yeah, lots of door barge and then bumper to bumper ends in this 8th downwards now up into the last, coming up to the final lap of the race. So it's all going to be trying to fight for this final position. Yeah,
I mean, in the championship standings as well. I mean, oh no, Hay's facing the wrong way. I don't know if it was assisted or if it was the curb, but yeah, that's going to be disastrous for Hay. But I was going to mention that, in the championship standings, ignoring what's happening up at the front, SRI, I think, was in a battle with Jason. Oh, Gary going for it, but so's SRI.
Right.
Oh, oh, you see that?
That was. Yeah, that was really late from Gary then. But I don't know if SRI knew. Like, I didn't know if he was going to go for the move on Rich then as well. But Gary came in really late.
I think in a way it's one of those where, yeah, Gary was maybe trying to make a move on SRI, but SRI was making the move on the car ahead, and yeah, I think Gary has come into that one a little bit too late, as we are now on to the final lap of the race. Let's see, the leaders are heading through the Schumacher S's now, so as it stands, Steve F1 is in position to win the race, but SGP is in position to win the championship. Arpal's in position to get tagged by Bunsell, but Hayes just done that for him. Arpal and Dave the Harp now side by side through the tricky little horrible chicane, making their way down towards the hairpin. Dave still trying to recover after having a bit of an off. Side by side still with Arpal, goes up the inside. I think Arpal didn't want to, didn't want to fire that one too much, but he's kind of in a catch-22. If he doesn't attack or he doesn't defend, he's going to get attacked.
Exactly, yeah. It's going to get
Bunsell, where did you come from? Back to the leaders. Okay, we've not seen for a while. Steve F1 is going to take the victory here in the Nurburgring, but SGP provisionally is going to take the championship in the Nor. Jason, what a race from him. Closed right in on SGP. Demon R is going to cross the line in 4th, Mitch 5th, Fluffy Planet all on his own in 6th. It's how he likes it, apparently. It means he can change arms. Formula Gary 7th at the moment. But this battle is still going on. We've got Gary 7th, Rich 8th. Oh, Bunsell, where are you going? Oh, tags the side of Rich. Okay, you can't be making the move here, Bunsell, and he isn't. He's backed out of it.
Yeah, fair play.
I don't know if he thought Rich was going to squeeze him a bit. Oh, my goodness me. That's a bit too much curve, boys. Oh, and a load of lag as well.
Yeah. But here we are, Gary taking 7th and Rich taking 8th. Looks like side by side. Oh, no. Hay taking 9th, Bunsell taking 10th, Arpal just ahead of SRI, and Twilight's coming up in 13th. Yeah. And looks like Dave the Harp has had an aberration, he's coming forward it all.
Yeah, it looks like he may have had an issue. So Twilight and Dave the Harp crossed the line 13th and 14th. But got to say, I mean, we've not seen them on the camera at all really through this race. But they're now side by side. The race winner and the championship winner. Got to say, both of these guys have had a brilliant season. Although, to be fair, Steve F1 had a tricky start to the season, really. And to be fair, did really well to take that title fight all the way to that final race.
Exactly, yeah. I think the changing point then was like when Steve F1 actually came back into the championship. You think about the 2 races down at Brands Hatch, he absolutely dominated both of them, didn't he?
Yeah, that was definitely the turning point. I'd agree with you there. I mean, yeah, they've both had brilliant seasons. They've both been pretty much faultless. And they've both, I mean, SGP had a very strong start to the season and a very calculated end to the season, really. I mean, yes, he won at Monza, but he was in a position where actually it didn't look like that was going to be happening early on. So it's definitely been an interesting championship from that perspective. And Mitch, I mean, you dominated for a large part the Mazda 787 championship that we did, the anniversaire, the historique. But now you're going to have to sort of hand the reins over to SGP, who is probably going to be unbearable now.
Yeah. Do I have to?
Well, luckily this year we've not had the naked celebration, so at least you're safe in that respect.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, but massive congratulations to SGP. I think he's definitely been the standout for this season.
I'd agree with you. I mean, there's plenty of drivers that have had. I mean, it's been a very up and down season for many drivers in a way, but it's like we mentioned, like with Fluffy, very difficult first half of the season, very boring, been driving considerably better. Yeah. So he's had 2 very different halves of the season. Dave the Harp, he's been right in the thick of it for most of the season, and he's had some good results at the same time. I mean, Monza, was it 3rd or 4th, I think it was? So some fantastic results in there as well, but also been under pressure from the pack for a lot of the championship. We've got Mitch, who as we know, has not had much time to practice, but has still been right up there in that front pack, ahead of that mental pack.
Of course, he's been really consistent, given up how much time he's had to practice. I think he'll be really pleased with how this season's gone.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, I talk about this in my woodworking videos, you can set yourself the goal of, I want to win the championship, but it's too big a goal to succeed at. Whereas what you're better off doing is setting yourself a smaller goal, like, it might even be, I want to win this race. But even that is an unachievable goal, really. You put too much pressure on yourself. So if you take it a step back and go, well, you know what, I just want to get to the end without causing any incidents and going off the track. If I do that, then I'll be happy. And if I do that really, really well, I might win. And then you're not under pressure anymore. And I think in a way Mitch has perhaps approached this championship in that way, in that there hasn't been that pressure of you have to do well or I must win the race. I think there's definitely been a more chilled perspective to the races for Mitch recently.
Exactly, yeah. And you can definitely tell as well how changed he has as well, like the way he's driving. If you remember the first season back when he was in I think it was the Mazda Roadsters. He was the Mazda Roadsters and the Sonatans as well. He was really aggressive with his driving style, and now you look at him, even in the the Historique in the Masters, you could just tell how much he's improved over seasons.
Definitely. I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, I've talked on commentary this season about Conrad, who unfortunately wasn't in the race today. He's had another very up and down championship, but he's had a lot going on in his personal life as well. Hope he's still recovering well. But I've mentioned before that I've seen Conrad doing races what Mitch would have done 2, 3, 4 seasons ago. I'm curious if you see that as well.
I could definitely see, you can see like how aggressive, you can see like the bit of aggression from Conrad sometimes with his driving style, and you could also see that he's making a lot of mistakes. He's trying to not be consistent, but I think what he needs to try and do, I know it might be quite difficult, but just trying to relax a little bit, try and not go as quick, like really like breaking into every corner, but just trying to put like a rough estimate of where you want to go into every corner.
Yeah, take a little bit off to gain more overall. I mean, it's one of those things that as well, I suppose, is it aggression? I don't know if it's the right word. It's not aggression as in like, it's see a car, want to go past, come on, let's, and okay, that makes for great racing. But then it's a bit like when we had the Monza race, and it was one of those situations where if he'd have been able to drop back that 2-3 tenths of a second, he'd have been able to make the overtake. But a bit like Mitch would have been a few seasons ago, the concept of I'm going to slow down a bit to go faster and make the overtake, that's not a train of thought that computes.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I mean,
agree with that.
Jason, he's had a very interesting championship. He has been so strong in the last few races as well. I mean, I've known Jason a long time, and I love watching Jason race when he's up there and he's on it, because he does tend to be one of the most aware quite often, and even though he likes his surströmming, we don't want any thank you, Jason. I have no intention of throwing up on video from the smell of a fish, but yeah, when he gets into a zone on a track, is a lot like Steve F1, where he will be so consistent there's bugger all you can do about it.
You can definitely see that, yeah, especially in this race and even the Spa race. You could how fast he was around them two tracks, and just and how, I mean, with Spa, he had the issue in the final lap where we dropped down to I think 4th place, but he was always in contention of for
the win,
winning that race. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, who else? SRI, we talked about him in the race. He's had a brilliant season. Yes, there's been some ups and downs, there's been some unlucky results, but I think over the course of the championship he's had a fantastic season. And to be fair, I think it's only because of Jason and Fluffy's resurgence in the last 3 or 4 races that may have allowed those two to jump him in the championship standings, because I think before that SRI was on for his best ever finish in the championship, which was 5th I think, or 6th, 5th place. So it would have been a phenomenal result for him. I'm not going to big him up anymore because I'm going to find a whiskey barrel for him. Who else we got? We got Gary, who he's had again an up and down. He's had some very tough results. He's had some very good results. He's had some very tough races that have ended in good results, like today. But I suppose it's difficult for the guys in the pack to perhaps feel like they've achieved a lot in many ways, or that they've improved much, because the pack is so mental. But I think as I sit here watching doing the commentary weekend, and I see the improvements that drivers are making. I still see the errors that they make, but the improvements are there to be seen, and Gary is one of those where the improvements have definitely been there as well.
Yeah, you can definitely see in the driving style of Gary's how much of his improved.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you could definitely see in like you could see in like the slow chicanes, like you'd see people going like 3 wide, and you could definitely see the improvements in everyone, and especially Gary. And you can see that they're taking it a lot easier into the corners when they're going side by side, which is absolutely brilliant to see, and it's a joy to watch as well.
It is. I mean, okay, yeah, there are still incidents, but it's every now and again, rather than every lap 3 wide in every corner going mental. And that, I mean, to be fair, that goes as well for Rich. I mean, we know Rich doesn't get a chance to practice, so literally he jumps on a Thursday, gets a few warm-up laps in, and then he's into the race, and that must be so difficult to do. But to be fair, I mean, like today, he's had a brilliant result today. He's almost ended up backwards in the pit lane through no fault of his own. But that's the benefit of having the boost. He gets to still be involved in the race, and it's just one of those things. Without the boost, he'd have been dead last. With that, yeah, Artpal would have waited, but then they wouldn't have been in the race anymore. But because of the boost, it's allowed them to catch back up, and in the end, Rich has ended up finishing 8th, which is I think tied his second best result. So a tough season for Rich as well, but ends on, to be honest, what I would say is quite a high, really.
Yeah, Richard, I mean, it's been a brilliant recovery from Rich after that, like what he says, the reverse entry into the pit wall. But I tell you what, he's had a great race, Rich. What did you say he finished? P8?
Yeah, P8.
Yeah, it's a great result from Rich. Yeah. Really good result.
Definitely. I mean, I'm thinking as well, I know Twilight had plenty of adventures in this race, some of his own making and some of his none of his own making. But I think, with Twilight, it's a difficult one in a way, because I think he's had a very tough championship. And I also think he's had the difficulty of, because people are improving in the pack, there's been a lot of races this championship where heading into the last 5 minutes, we've no idea who's going to be finishing 7th. From 7th down, we don't know what that order is going to be, because that pack is so much closer. And
exactly, yeah.
And for Twilight, I think unfortunately on perhaps too many occasions he's been involved in stuff that's resulted in him being a bit further back, whereas a couple of championships ago he was in that position that kind of Fluffy's in at the moment. So it's kind of like, yes, Twilight's improved, but so have the other guys, and it's one of those things. I can imagine it can be quite frustrating if he feels like he's working extremely hard to get to the head of the pack, and then he's in a fight for the whole race. But that's the way it goes, I think.
Yeah, I fully understand if Twilight's not very happy with this season, because it has been a really difficult season for him. But like he says, I think everyone's improved on that. But you just need to keep his head up and next thing you know, but we've got the championship next season. We've got a brand new, what is it, Grit? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the Grit.
And you never know what's going to happen in that. You never know. Twallum actually might be up there fighting.
Yeah, well, I know from doing a bit of not practice, but when we've sort of jumped in the car in random lobbies, I know there's a couple of people that have really got on with that car. I will just mention quickly though that there will be announcements about the Grit Championship coming very soon. Nothing major, but there are going to be a couple of important announcements which I think will benefit everybody in the long run. But yes, and hopefully the likes of Twilight it's one of those things. I know for me personally, I prefer to drive cars that are really, really fast. That's where my talents seem to lie. Whereas in the slower cars, they can be good fun, but it's not really testing me on the limit, so to speak. And that may be similar for the likes of Twilight. You get him in a faster car and he's happier. Just thinking as well, who else has been there on track today? Bunsell, what a champ. Well, Bunsell definitely had an up championship that may have ended up on a bit of a down, because Bunsell has been extremely improved over the course of this championship, although I think the racing may have got to him towards the end of that last race today.
I'll tell you what, it was a bit of a laugh, just seeing like especially in that hairpin. No offense to Button, but that was just great to watch on the footage. But I'll tell you what, he's definitely been improving a lot, hasn't he, Bunsell? Yeah. So it's great to see that he's improving his drivability, especially in this car.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, I know that he's really enjoyed driving this car as well. I mean, I've got to say, this car is a brilliant car to drive and to race. It really is. Hayes had I'm going to say an odd championship, but it's only odd until you sort of speak to him and find out that what he was sort of doing was he'd felt that because he'd missed a few races, he didn't want to be taking points off people. But to be honest, we want people to race. If you're taking points off for the people, good. That's part of racing. So in the recent races where we've seen him sort of waiting at the end of the race, or trying to help people across the line, it's like, okay, so kind of see what you're doing, but just go to the line, mate. We'd rather you race, because then people you're racing with will know as well that, right, okay, you're there, you're racing me, rather than, okay, you're there, you're racing me, but you've just disappeared. Where have you gone? What's happening? And it can add a bit of confusion. So I think for Hay, hopefully we'll see improvements over the course of the next championship, because I do think there has been some improvements in this one, and in the race today it looked like he was driving a lot better. It was just unfortunate towards the end of the race.
Yeah, he's definitely improving his driving, especially race. I've always got that memory in my head in the Supra where he joined late, mm-hmm. and he just punted off Steve F1.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's definitely improving his driving, and I want to see how like fighting a lot more, battling a lot more, and getting the points. Like, I fully understand him not like wanting to get the points off people, but that's racing, like you said.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it's one of those things as well where, I mean, okay, yeah, we say we want to see him battling. Obviously, we want to see him battling fairly, but that's part of it. I'm just having a check here. I don't necessarily want to go missing anybody out from today's race. Art Pal. Well, Art Pal's first full championship. How would you say he's got on with that?
I think he's done pretty well, actually. Brand new, of course it's like a brand new car for everyone, but it's people you've never really raced with, mm-hmm. and him just slotting into that pack, he's done pretty well. And then you also see he's definitely got some pace in him. I remember in one of the Austria races, I think it was the short track of Red Bull Ring, he raced brilliantly there, and I think he got fifth or sixth in that, and you can definitely tell he's got some pace, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do in the next championship.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's been a lot for him to learn in a very short space of time, that's for certain. And I mean, sometimes the best way to do it is to be thrown into the deep end. But yeah, I mean, he's shown as being up there on the pace just about, and the rest of it was just racecraft, which you can only learn by being on the track, really, and you can only learn it once you're up to speed and around other cars as well. So yeah, I think he's had a very good first full-time championship. He may feel that it could have been better at times, but it's one of those for the first championship. I would have no disappointments with it whatsoever. He's had a very good championship.
First championship, just getting used to like the surroundings of like what everyone's like. He's done brilliantly. I think he's done really well to get some really good point scoring positions.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to have a quick look at because obviously there's a couple of drivers that have not been able to race today. Conrad, we know he's had a tough championship, but at the same time he has shown some phenomenal pace. He's shown his abilities for certain, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see good things from Conrad in the future. And Jimmy is another one who is a lot like Rich, where he's not really had the time to practice, so it's very difficult to know exactly where the limits are going to be when you get to come online and do about 10 minutes warm up. You're not going to find the limits, and you're not going to find out what the tyres are going to be like. So I think it's been a tough one for Jimmy, but having said that, when he's been able to race, he's had some decent finishes.
Yeah, he has. He's sometimes been up there in like the upper section of the pack. And he's had some really good battles, and of course he's had a fair few incidents like that. Sometimes are not his fault and just spinning out or etc. like that. But I can understand that if he hasn't got the time to practice, then that's absolutely fine.
Sometimes stuff like that happens, yeah. Okay, and that's. Actually, there was one more, but it's Demon R. We don't care about how he's got on. He's just been drunk all year. But I mean, it is interesting. Well, okay, to sum up how Demon R's championship has gone, I think the best thing you could perhaps say is, well, he won a race, and the race he won, he showed exactly what he's capable of doing. The rest of the time, he just didn't quite seem on it.
Yeah, like that one race, he was having a really good battle with SGP, but you could see that in some tracks he was just lacking a little bit behind, or he was just making a few mistakes and getting into the pack.
Yeah, well, like Monza, and making the error of tagging Conrad and ending up both of them spinning around. I mean, that could have been a Conrad Demon R battle for the win. I would have liked to have seen that. But I suppose it depends on how you view. I mean, it'd be easy for people to view it and go, "Oh, he's not on the pace, is he? He's not fast enough." But then I suppose if you ask him, maybe he's just not practicing that much. He's just there to enjoy himself. And that's what it's about, really.
It's all about it's just a lot of fun, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Like it's not really. Well, of course, it's a bit competitive, but
it is.
The main aspect of this championship is to just have a lot of fun, and that's what we get every race.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, as well, he doesn't really need to worry until either one of the Steves starts getting to their 4th and 5th championship. When that happens, you may see a different Demon R. But yeah,
you never know. Mitch might be into that place as well.
Well, you know what? With the Tomahawk, I mean, it's one of those cars where it could just click with a couple, a bit like with the Mazda clicked with you. and the Mazda Touring car clicked with Steve F1, the Supra and the Porsches clicked for SGP. The Tomahawk could click for someone else, and it could be a Mitch, it could be a Twilight, it could be a Davey, it could be an SRI.
Could be absolutely anyone. You never know, really. But
could be.
Everyone's. I think the majority of people are bad practice. You could definitely. It's a completely different car to anything that I've drove, really.
Yeah.
Because one, it's really quick, but two, you've got to be really cautious of obviously in the slow corners. You can just easily get the back end out, can't you, in first or second gear?
Yes. I mean, like I said, there are going to be some announcements regarding that car in the very near future. But yeah, I mean, it is it is a very quick car, but at the same time, it's no faster than anything we've driven before. It just feels faster, and it is I mean, okay, compared to the Mazda LMP1, it's not as fast in a straight line, or it's similarly fast in a straight line. But it is faster in the corners, and that's where the difference will be really shown in the corners compared to like the Mazda LMP1. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how we get on with that. But also, I don't know exactly when these announcements will happen. I mean, the announcements about the Tomahawk will happen before the championship starts. But regarding what happens after that, those are announcements that are also going to be quite interesting, and for anyone that perhaps is struggling a little bit with a Tomahawk or struggled with a Porsche, I think you'll like what's coming after the Tomahawk as well. So it's one of those, if you drive the Tomahawk and you struggle a little bit, don't panic yet. We've got a bit of time, but also if you don't get on with it, don't worry too much, because what comes after that, I don't think you'll have any problems getting on with that at all. Let's see, I think we're just about done here. So Mitch, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me on commentary. It's been very interesting to have you on.
Yeah, no problem, Dave. It's nice to be on here for once. Like first time. Don't think I did too bad, but
you've done all right. You'll soon find out. The guys will let you know if you did well or not.
I'm expecting a lot of messages coming through. Just
you'll get them. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
I'm going to say once again, well done for taking the championship in the anniversary, the historic. However, it'll be confirmed in a moment, but the new champion is going to be SGP. And on my final comments, I'm just going to say that in this crazy world that we live in, obviously there's COVID, there's weirdness, there's crazy things going on all over the world at the moment, and you can believe who you wish to believe, and you can have faith in whatever you want to have faith in. But what I will say is, keep your pets nice and close and keep them safe, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that will never say a bad word about you because they can't talk. But also, the last thing you want to do is end up with your budgie escaping from your cage and humping the family dog, and then having to say, I've got puppies going cheap if anyone wants one.
Oh my god.
And on that note, let's check out the confirmed race result and the championship standings. So here we go then, with confirmation of the race 9 result from the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. Steve F1 does take the victory in the maximum points, however it's not going to be enough to stop SGP from taking the title, so he is confirmed as the Nord champion. Jason finished in 3rd place, great result for him, 15 points going over there. 4th place for Demon R, 5th for Mitch. Fluffy Planet, 6th place, formerly Gary, managed to finish in 7th, ahead of Rich Blues in 8th, Hay in 9th, and then we had, it would appear, a little bit of drama on track, so things have changed about a bit. Art Pal has been moved up to 10th place, SRI moved up to 11th place, Twilight Zone moves up to 12th, and Dave the Harp moves up to 13th, because Bunsel unfortunately has been disqualified from this race result. Art Pal has got himself a -2 point penalty as well, so that'll come come off his championship standings. For Bunsell though, well, unfortunately he definitely got himself involved in a few moments on and off the track that is highly not recommended. It would be wise for the drivers to all check the stewards report regarding this. In short, I'll just say that unfortunately for Bunsell, well, perhaps that's the wrong word, correctly for the league, Bunsell has received a -3 point penalty for one incident during the race. He has then received a disqualification for a separate incident during the race, and then because there's been a third incident, Bunsell has also been handed a one race ban, which will take place at the first round of the next championship. Bunsell, I believe, has been spoken to by the admins and made aware of this, and has said that he apologises and he's not going to do it again. So yeah, there we go. Not the greatest of ends in some respects, but I don't think the admins or stewards had any choice really other than to apply those penalties. Okay, so confirmation of the race result there as it is, which means there's only one more thing to do, and that is to check out what that has done to the championship standings. Ooh, look at that! Pretty up at the top for SGP with his little gold bar and his shiny gold star, although now he's got two of them. Gotta say though, congratulations to SGP, he's been absolutely phenomenal this championship, and yeah, fully deserves that gold star. There's now two that'll be displayed on his car. Steve F1 gave it a really good go to take the fight to him from Brands Hatch. Been absolutely phenomenal. 10 points behind him, and to be fair, I don't think there's been much between them all season. Demon R finishing third place, 26 points behind Steve F1. He'll be disappointed about that, will Demon R, but he's still up there in the top three. Mitch has had a brilliant season to be able to finish in fourth on 106 points. Jason, with that result today, absolutely phenomenal. Jumps from tied seventh up to fifth on 74 points, and I've got to say, fully deserved. He was probably the fastest driver around the Nurburgring this week, and unfortunately to not actually take the win, so he fully deserves that fifth place. And as for Fluffy Planet, he's a very strong end to the season, and because of that he's going to get to share 6th place and a 69 with SRI. Yeah, less said about that the better. But to be fair, Fluffy Planet did turn his season around and put in one hell of a strong end of the championship. And because he had a better a higher finishing position, he does actually finish ahead of SRI, although they're tied. So he's kind of ahead, but they're level. For Conrad for SRI, he has definitely had his best ever championship, apart from the one where he cheated and cut corners and ended up a dirty champion. That must have been a highlight, I'm sure. But in the proper racing, this has definitely been his best championship, much improved and absolutely brilliant to see. For Conrad, he's had a very tough season, started very, very strong, as we mentioned, a few personal issues. To be fair, finishing 8th, tied 8th with Dave the Harp on 62 points is not a shabby result whatsoever. I do think we'll see Conrad come much stronger in the future as well. I just hope he doesn't get too close to SRI and Fluffy Planet when he does. For Dave the Harp, very up and down season, but 8th place is ahead of the pack still. He's actually leader of the pack for most of this championship, but I think Dave will be wanting to try and progress further, and maybe a championship coming up where tyres are and fuel are going to have a bit more of an effect might help Dave the Harp. Formula Gary finishes in 10th place, a fantastic result at the end there, making him finish just ahead of Twilight by 4 points. Twilight finishing the last race, perhaps not the happiest of drivers out there. However, I think we'll see a stronger Twilight in the future. The Tomahawk I think he prefers the faster car of the Tomahawk compared to this Porsche. So I'm excited to see what Twilight can do, because Twilight really should be up there on the pace with sort of Fluffy Planet and Conrad and Dave the Harp. For Art Pal, finishing in 12th place, first full season for him. I don't think he can really complain too much about that. He's had some ups and downs, been involved in some incidents, and to be fair, he's reported himself for quite a few of the incidents he's been involved in. And so, yeah, he has sort of self-penalised when it has been needed, which is fair play to him, to be honest, respect to that. So possibly could have finished a little bit higher, but took the pain of some penalties along the way. But coming in as a new driver, yeah, it's never going to be easy. He's done a fantastic job to finish in 12th place. For Rich Blues, I want to say not only thank you for spending time on the track, Rich, but for everything else that you've been doing for us as well, collecting all the data, the questions, the post-race comments, and sorting the points out for us. And also, well done on your racing at Nurburgring, because that's allowed you to jump up ahead of Jimmy, and now you can give him loads of abuse at work. Not that I am pro abuse, I'm not. Just, yeah, you know you're going to wind him up, and Jimmy knows it as well. And Jimmy has missed a few races, so he's done well, really, to be able to get that amount of points in the few races that he's been able to do this championship. Hopefully we'll see him get on with the Tomahawk a little bit better. Bunsell, he's absolutely loved this car. He's also had an absolutely brilliant championship in improving his driving and all that, apart from, unfortunately, today's race, where I don't know, maybe it was one or two beers too many, I'm not too sure, but yeah, not the greatest event of a championship for Bunsell. But if you look at the rest of the championship, he has been absolutely brilliant. He's been one of the most improved drivers up until the Nurburgring, unfortunately. Hey, had an interesting final race, finishes 16th on the 20 points, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more sort of proactive Hay in the future championships. Tyler was there as a reserve, unfortunately wasn't able to race when the opportunities arose, but hopefully we will see him a bit more in the Tomahawk if spaces become available. Right, well there we go. What can we say? This championship has been an absolute blinder. There's been non-stop action all the way from start to finish, whether it be good, bad, ugly or Bunsell. We've had it all. We've had some brilliant racing, we've had some great overtaking, we've had some interesting crashes, but what we definitely have got is now another two-time champion in the DGT League. So the question now is, can SGP carry that form on into the grit, the Group 1 Tomahawk? Or can Steve F1 fight back and overcome his rival? Or can Mitch, having won the Mazda Touring, the Mazda LMP1s, the Anniversaire, the Historique, is he going to be able to fight back in another fast car which could suit him? It's going to be interesting. Could we see a 7-time champion? Could we see a new first-time champion? You know what, there's only really one way to find out, and that is to join us at Dynamic GT League. Hit the like, hit subscribe, hit notifications as well, and we'll keep you updated with all the information. The first race of the grit will be in 3 Thursdays time. I haven't got the date to hand, I should have done, naughty me. However, there are going to be some live stream announcements from the admins in the very near future, I believe, regarding the Group 1 Tomahawk Championship, the grit, but also for what is going to come after that. It's going to be an interesting off-season, I'm sure. I think everybody needs a break from the madness of the Porsche. And yeah, maybe we need to go and do a bit of a destruction derby, or even maybe drive a few go-karts. We'll have to wait and see. Right, thank you very much for tuning in. And, oh, is that a bump on my head? Ow! Yes, it is. It would be. Oh, sorry about that. Rest in peace, Murray. See you all again soon.